You've probably seen the incredible images coming out of the Ukraine in the last several months, and you might be wondering if it has anything to do with you. Well, in this Life of Duty special report, I'm going to give you my opinion on why this just might be the most important geopolitical event to happen since the fall of the Soviet Union, and how America's response can have far-reaching consequences around the world. The causes of this current conflict are pretty complex, but let me try and simplify it for you. Ukraine is a very important political prize between Europe and Russia. Russia has spent a lot of money trying to influence the political process here over the last several years. And the Ukrainians have, I think, kind of a healthy suspicion of that because many of their parents and grandparents suffered through what was called the Holodomor. It's a systematic starvation of 7 to 10 million Ukrainians back in the 1930s, orchestrated by Russia. So if they have a healthy suspicion, that's probably understandable. But what's amazing about what we see here is that this was orchestrated by regular people, students and civilians, who got tired of the corruption in their government and stood up to fully armed troops with nothing but bottles and stones. That makes Russia pretty nervous now that their sock puppet of a president is gone, because they have a lot of assets here in Ukraine. You know, if you'd told me 20 years ago that I would be sitting inside a Russian nuclear missile launch site, I would have said you were crazy. Even today, it feels a little surreal to be sitting here surrounded by all this former Soviet military equipment at this base in central Ukraine. I think America needs to be careful about how we approach this crisis between Russia and Ukraine today, because while we might not be facing down too many of these SS-18 ICBMs anytime soon, Russia does have some pretty powerful weapons in its arsenal that it could use against the United States if we start slapping sanctions on it indiscriminately. What I mean is that Russia is the 7th largest U.S. creditor. That means they've got almost $200 billion of treasuries that, if it were to decide to sell those tomorrow, could really cause havoc in the U.S. bond markets. But even more important than that, Russia is the world's largest producer of gas and oil, and all of that petroleum gets traded in U.S. dollars, and it has for many years. But if Russia decided tomorrow to trade in euros or Chinese currency or something else, that could really lead to the end of the U.S. dollar as a world reserve currency. And that would be a very, very bad thing.